It was frightening. It was frightening. I cried a lot. I cried a lot because when you have your home being threatened and you live around all of these homeless people, I didn't have a problem imagining what that would be like.
I think the important thing is that we are engaged with the fact that we have a housing crisis now.
It's just a shame in a place as beautiful as we live and as prosperous as our community is, we're having a growing problem with homelessness.
Eviction is a leading cause of homelessness. It is something that's funneling into the homelessness issue that we are experiencing right now as a region.
The clients we see at KCBA's Housing Justice Project are facing all sorts of challenges. They start with basically low income, right? That we wouldn't be seeing them if they didn't meet the need criteria we use. But what usually comes along with that is some unexpected medical emergency, perhaps a substance abuse challenge, a mental health challenge, domestic violence, racism and sexism. Pretty much all the ills of our society are reflected in the caseload that we represent.
I was a good tenant for years, and I had a steady income, but then I had a medical problem and I fell behind on my rent. I wasn't that far behind. It was just for that month, and it was actually going to be like 2 weeks or something like that. The problem is the late fees then started piling on.
When you're a person of limited means, it doesn't take much for it to become the sort of challenge that's impossible to meet.
More than 85% of all cases are about rent. And that's not surprising if you've been in this line of work. When we looked at all the cases in Seattle that were filed in 2017, what we were finding is that more than half of all cases for rent were about 1 month or less in rent. So a tenant was losing their homes or at risk of losing their homes for 1 month or less more than half the time. Top 3 reasons were temporary unemployment, medical emergency, or loss in the family. These are non-recurring one-time events. These are not things that happen all the time and are recurring that are going to likely be a future problem. A tenant who misses a rent payment has pretty much 3 days to be able to catch up on that rent. They could be $1 short, it's not going to be good enough.
If it hadn't been for the Housing Justice Project, I would have been alone. I would not have had an advocate. I would have ended up homeless. And once you're evicted, you have an eviction on your record, no one's going to really rent to you, not a decent apartment.
The KCBA Housing Justice Project is on the front lines of the fight against homelessness. Before people end up on the street, before they end up without shelter, we're seeing them first.
We can often get with clients early, maybe as early as after they receive the 3-day notice, and intervene in a way that either help them find resources to make the payment that's due, help them negotiate some extra time with the landlord. I get emotional when I think about how many of our clients are not well connected to the community. And our service in some ways is that connection.
I'm really grateful that I was directed to the Housing Justice Project. I love my new apartment, and I know I can pay my rent.
So there's a lot of efforts being made to address homelessness in our community, and it's a huge problem. What we can do is get in front of that problem and keep our clients from becoming homeless. So I think we're addressing homelessness by reducing it directly before it even starts.
But at the end of the day, what we really still need is we need that sort of compassion that only a person can bring by volunteering their time, by being able to sort of support this kind of program, because you need to put a human face on all of this. The reason why I do this is because it feels so important. I couldn't imagine not doing this kind of work.
I like helping people, right? And this program gives me an opportunity to do that.
I hope that people will support the Housing Justice Project because it is such a huge need. They let me keep my dignity. They treated me like I mattered.